Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about Charlotte FC in the Moving Forward series episode, and there's no doubt that in the beginning of the season, nobody thought that the Charlotte team would make it to the playoffs. I mean, when you look at the quality that this team has had, everybody predicted they were going to finish near the bottom of the Eastern Conference. But then Dean Smith come in to coach this team, and this is, I think, a pure example of why coaching really matters in MLS. I mean, we've seen it many times before where a team that could be very talented but they don't have the right head coach to steer the direction and they underachieve. Well, this is kind of the opposite for Charlotte. They got the right head coach in Dean Smith, and while he definitely played some negative style of soccer similar to what he does with relegation threatened team during his time in the Premier League with Aston Villa and Bournemouth. It worked to a treat, to a fact that they were one of the hardest team to play. Like they are a team that you just simply don't want to play against because they're going to make it really hard for you to break them down. And it's no surprise that as a result of that, they finished the season with the second best defensive record and finished with the most points that they have ever had in their short beginning of their MLS franchise history. Now, that being said, they did finish with a 14-9-11 record and finished with 51 points. They've only scored 46 goals, which is not a lot for a team that made it to the playoffs. And I'll talk about throughout this episode that goal scoring was definitely a huge problem for the Charlotte team. But what is not a problem is their defense. 37 goal conceded. It's the best in the Eastern Conference. Only Seattle has a better goal allow record with Seattle allowing 35 goals, and they have a goal differential of +9. They finished fifth in the Eastern Conference, and they had a chance to win their first playoff series as well. I mean, I know playing against Orlando City, another team that was doing really good, might not be the most favorable draw for Charlotte, but there was no doubt that a lot of people would say that if there was a lower seed that can beat a higher seed out of the East, this would be the team to do so, but unfortunately they weren't able to do so, although they came very close to do it, and we'll talk about why that is the case in just a bit as well. But looking at the last two seasons, this is only the third season for Charlotte. Last season they finished ninth with a 10, 13, and 11 record and finished with 43 points. They did make it to the playoffs, but yeah, they might as well not made it to the playoffs because they got absolutely thumped by the New York Red Bulls in that game. I think the final score was like 5-2 in favor of the Red Bulls. And then in their first ever season, they also finished in ninth place with a 13-3-18 record, but this was before when the playoff format changed to 9 teams make it to the playoffs, so they miss out on the playoffs with 42 points. But I will say that was considered a successful expansion season. Consider that expansion season, there was a lot of off the field issue with this team, especially in the beginning with the lack of signing, and also seems like some of their front office member decided to move on before this franchise even got into the league. There was a lot of concern about this team would be like Cincinnati in the beginning of their journey in MLS and their expansion season, having one of the worst expansion season in MLS history. But that turns out to be further from the truth. I mean, they were in the playoff race for majority of the year, only missed out heading in the latter part of the season. Now, looking at the top goal scored of this team, so for a team that's only scored 46 goals, I'm kind of surprised that they actually had a double-digit goal score. But Patrick Ajiman leads the team with 10 goals, followed by Leo Abada with 6 goals. Karol Kwiatkowski with 6 goals, Kevin Vargas with 6 goals, and Lula Tavares with 3 goals to round up the top five for Charlotte. Top assist leader, it's pretty much a dead even 5 assists for 4 different guys. You got Ashley Westwood, Patrick Ajiman, Brent Bronico, and Yuran Unan also with five assists. And then you have Pepe with 3 assists for Charlotte to round up the top five. Best win of the season, it's got to be the 3-1 win that they had on the road against Cincinnati. That was kind of the game that I've said like that really sent the message to the rest of the Eastern Conference that Charlotte is definitely for real for real. I mean, up to this point, Charlotte was doing really well and they were definitely a surprise package. But the big question is, can they, of course, go on the road to face against the big boys and able to pull off a victory? Now, credit, yes, this was in the beginning of the end for Cincinnati, as I talked about before with them eventually having a second half downturn that got them an early first round exit as well. But still, that was very impressive for them to go into Cincinnati, go into TKO Stadium and win 3-1 like that. But the worst loss of the season, I'm gonna go with one of their early season loss. They haven't really suffered a lot of bad losses this Charlotte team, but I think the worst one has to be that 3-0 loss to Minnesota at home. And this was in the beginning where they were still kind of doing okay, but yeah, this performance, man, this was as flat of a performance as they will get. And this team was very good this season at home. Like Bank of America Stadium, really for the first couple of years of them in the league has always been a fortress. A lot of teams have had problems in terms of getting points from Charlotte. They have really defended their home turf very well. But this game, I mean, I get it. It was a rainy day, but man, they were just flat throughout the whole game. This definitely did not resemble a Dean Smith Charlotte team, and I think they were down. Well, yeah, they were down 3-0 for majority of the game, and yeah, easily the worst loss of the season for this team. In terms of average attendance, they have the second highest attendance with attendance of 33,383. Now that is slightly down from last year, but you got to remember last year they had a game where there was like 70,000 plus that was attended. They did had a game that was similar to that with them playing Messi and friends, and obviously it's gonna happen when you see an expansion team and a shiny new toy. Attendance is gonna be good, and not to mention I think last season they did open the second deck a little bit more often than they did this year as well. But still, the following is definitely there. I really wish that eventually they would get themselves a soccer specific stadium because I do think that as much as I've heard the renovation that they're gonna do with Bank America Stadium, I don't really like MLS team playing in multi-purpose stadium, unless if you're Atlanta or Seattle, that seems like it works well for them because with majority of the time when they just open the lower bowl and don't open the upper bowl as well, and they don't even tarp the upper bowl like what we see with Atlanta and Seattle as well. It just kind of feels like it's a cavernous stadium, and I really hope eventually they'll build themselves their own soccer specific stadium. Obviously, there's no plan in terms of doing so, and not to mention I don't think there's going to be any plan to do so, considering they're literally owned by the same owner as the Carolina Panthers as well. So yeah, it seems like they're probably going to be stuck at Bank of America Stadium for a bit, but that doesn't mean the attendance is bad as well. For most of the game, it is pretty filled. There are definitely some empty seats as well, but definitely filled out and still a pretty strong atmosphere despite the fact that they're kind of playing in the MLS 1.0 type of stadium. Now, look at the MVP of this team. So it's not often I gave the MVP to a defender or a goalkeeper, but that's kind of the case when you have a Charlotte team that is very good defensively. So I got to give it to Christian Kalina, winning goalkeeper of the year as well. Well deserved as well. What a career season it's been. And it wasn't just him that was just making save after save for this team to keep a great defensive record. That back line was absolutely amazing. And what's crazy about it is that back line, with the addition of Unan, or not Unan, I'm sorry, but with the addition of Andrew Privet, I mean, it was kind of almost still the same backline as previous season. The fact that Dean Smith is able to organize that backline, and again, I'm not surprised that is the case. He's a guy that has a history of coaching teams that don't have a lot of quality and are fighting for relegation, like Aston Villa and Bournemouth. So he's going to play that negative style of play, and while that negative style of play could be frustrated to watch if you're just a neutral or even if you're a fan of the game. When you don't have a lot of quality, sometimes you have to do so you don't want to get yourself cut open because if you don't you play that if you don't play that negative style soccer when you don't have the attack to do so, you're gonna get blown out every single game. And Charlotte would be finishing where they probably would have predicted near the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Now, in terms of disappointment, I could have gone with either of the DP as well. I could have gone with Shredetsky or Abada, but I'm gonna go with Pep Biel, and this is not a big surprise considering we knew this was gonna be a disappointment from the start. I mean, for a while they were rumored to get a big name player. And it seems like now there's a rumor that they might get Miguel Almiron as well, although that rumor seems like it's been died down. But yeah, instead they had to settle for Pep Biel, who he's okay, but he's definitely not a DP quality kind of player, and it kind of shown throughout his time. Just really never got going when it comes to the playmaking ability as well. Now, in terms of young player to watch, it's got to be Patrick Opchiman. I mean, it's not even close. He is a very exciting kind of player, and while he is at times kind of frustrated to see when it comes to at times when he is cold, he's unable to be show that clinical finishing. That you know, young players are gonna have those kind of moment, and a number nine is gonna have those moments. But yeah, he is a guy that is to watch one of the great youngster in this league, and at times you know the hype train is definitely there when he was scoring the goals for the Charlotte team. And what's also interesting is that you know throughout the season we talk about how you know Patrick Archibald has to really prove himself that he is the number nine for this team. He is the leading goal scorer of this team, and not only he was able to do but you know there was talks that it seems like he's gonna lose that position once they do bring a number nine over the summer, and they kind of never did. I mean, they kind of did with Shradetsky, but Shradetsky was nowhere near as he was doing his first reign with this team just a couple of years ago. Now, looking at what went right for this team, obviously we talked about the best defensive record in the East. This team was really hard to break down. Like this team was almost playing very similar style to Gary Smith, kind of negative style of just sit in a low block and ask you if you can break us down. And this is also not surprising that when you also look at the stats of possession, I think they're dead last in the league when it comes to possession. This is a team that does not want to have possession. They're gonna try to make you break them down, and more times or not, it just does not work. It's hard to do so. And then of course Christian Kalina, career season ending, earning him the goalkeeper of the year, and then of course the best points total that they have ever had in club history. I mean, I know this is only the third season for Charlotte, but still impressive for them to get 50 plus point in their third season. So what went wrong for this team? So as good as the defense is for this Charlotte team, yeah, the attack is a big problem for this team. It just never got going throughout the season. I mean, there was some sparks where it kind of got going. I mean, I think one of those sparks was when they won 4-0 against the New England Revolution. Though that being said, that was a very bad New England team. That was a team that was near the bottom of the Eastern Conference. I mean, yeah, for the most part, the attack was very bad. They just never figure out the balance on the attacking end. And even with some of the summer trends for window signing with the likes of Leo Abada, Pepiel, and bring back Kale Schwaditsky, none of those guys really pop up out as difference maker of this team. And that's also been a problem for Charlotte ever since they come into the league. For the most part, some of their big signing, they have took a huge swing and a miss in terms of that. And that kind of is the second thing I'm going to mention. They continue to take big swing and a miss. Their sporting director Zoran Kanan just unable to really hit on most of these signing. I mean, the only big signing that I can think of that they really hit is Christian Kalina, but that doesn't say much when you only have your goalkeeper as your big hits, because again the rest of the signing, it's been very disappointing. And then of course, not to mention, as we talk about why they got eliminated in against Orlando City, they even though they were very close to do so, well, they hit the self-destruction button in game number 3 against Orlando. They were just minutes away. Like they were heading to stoppage time with the lead in that game. They were minutes away from winning the game and getting a big victory to move on to the second round, and then they conceded a penalty, and then yeah, that really affected them, because once we got to the PK shootout, they just looked like they were in complete shock. The fact that they conceded late like that, and yeah, just a lot of what ifs. If they didn't do that, if they would have just hold on, this team absolutely would have been in the second round, and who knows how far they would go as well. Because as I said, the East this year was an absolute mess once we get past the second round, with all the favorites being knocked out after the first round, and who knows, you know, they might had a chance to go deep in this competition, maybe be like the New York Red Bulls reaching to the MLS Cup out of the East. So moving forward, how's the Charlotte team is going to look like? So you know they can get two designated player spot open if they decided to move on with Trudetsky. I think Trudetsky does have an option next season, so it's interesting to see whether or not if he gets picked up that option as not. And if they do get those two DP spot open, you know, the two DP that they're gonna spend, they need another creative midfielder and a winger as well. It's pretty clear that you know this team does not have a creative kind of player, not a difference maker that can pull the string like what we see some of those top tiers team in the Eastern Conference do so. Now, for a while, they have linked with Miguel Almiron, and I know Miguel Almiron hasn't really done well with Newcastle United, and he has nothing like the player that he was with Atlanta. He was a guy that was kind of a proven MLS player, and if Charlotte does get him, I mean, if he can just show, I wouldn't expect him to go back to his old self, but if he can at least show some of that during his time with Atlanta, it will really help this attack, and most importantly, it will really help Patrick Agyemang as well. That's another thing that's so impressive about Patrick Agyemang, the fact that he didn't really get as much service as you think he did, and he still were able to hit double digit goal scoring. Imagine if he is able to get the service, he could be a guy that could be a young player and could be a guy that dare I say, maybe on the radar of the national team as well. So there's no doubt that they need a creative midfielder. The winger spot is another area that they need to address as well. They don't really have a lot of good quality in terms of that. I mean, they thought Kervin Vargas was that player, and while Kervin Vargas has shown some skills at times, he's still kind of a bit of an underwhelming kind of signing, and that yeah, they need another winger in terms of that designated player slot, and that of course is the two DPs that they had. And then the last question I think is moving forward is will Dean Smith will be a little bit more aggressive with his tactics? And what I mean by that is that I get that yes, he's trying to use the Gary Smith kind of style of making sure that this team is very locked down and is very hard to play. But as we've seen with Nashville and as we've seen with Gary Smith team, it eventually got found out. And I think next season teams are gonna realize that, yeah, just give the ball to Charlotte. Like let's give them the ball and see if they can break you down because more times or not, they don't have the players to break you down. And then when you're trying to catch a team them on the counter attack, that could be successful as well. That's what we saw with Nashville and was kind of the reason why the downfall has happened. And that's why Will Dean Smith. I think to maybe reward that a little bit is he have a plan B when it comes to just playing this negative style of soccer. Is there a way where he can evolve his tactics to not just simply play a team that's very negative? Because if he doesn't, we could see another Gary Smith situation where eventually the Charlotte team is going to find out. Teams are going to just simply give them the ball, see if they can break them down, and if they don't, then there's going to be space at the back to try to transition. But either way, there's no doubt that I think there's going to be more works to be done. There's no doubt they need to add more quality if they want to consider to be the upper echelon in the Eastern Conference. Because as I mentioned before, the East is going to be as much of a bloodbath next season as this season as well, and they won't have that kind of underdog mentality and that dark horse mentality that they kind of carry throughout last season into 2025 as well. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video. And if you're a Charlotte fan, who you think is the MVP, disappointment, player to watch, what went right, what went wrong, and most importantly, moving forward, how is this team going to look next season? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.